Yeah, so, when we first had all of our little ones, and I've got these 3 children under 3, we're a one-car family.
Mhm.
I'm working from home during nap time, so there's, like, not even walking out to the park with the hopes of meeting other moms. We didn't have other moms in our
Mhm.
neighborhood. Like, the only way I got to speak to other adult women was to invite them
Mhm.
into my home and serve their family dinner and serve them dinner.
Welcome to the Homeschool Connections podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin Zara, and I'm so glad you're spending some time with me today. New episodes drop every week, so make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. All right, mamas, grab your coffee, press play, and let's homeschool together. Emily Stimpson Chapman is a Catholic author and speaker known for her work on theology and womanhood. With a background in theology and passion for beauty, home, and hospitality, she writes to inspire others to live out their faith fully and joyfully. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you. Me too. Today, we're going to be talking all about the blessings of a shared meal. You've got a new book out about just this, and you've said that welcoming others into our homes can be an act of community and communion. Can you tell me, how do you see the family table as a place where faith is shared and lived out together?
Well, when we look at what food is,
Mhm.
we understand as Catholics that the whole world in some ways is a sign that points us to God. Like God
Yes.
created everything in the world. He
Yep.
loves everything in the world. And there's something about him and everything in the
Mhm.
world. Just like you can always tell an artist like, oh, Renoir painted that or Monet painted that because they have a style. There's something of them in it.
Mhm.
Like the whole creation tells us something about God. Like it points back to God. And food is no exception.
Mhm.
God from the beginning knew that he would be using food to draw us to himself, to give
Yes.
us his life. Like that's what happens in the Eucharist. And so
Mhm.
when we start to understand that food is a natural sign of a supernatural reality that's
Mhm.
always pointing, towards what God does in the Eucharist, we can see like, oh, what does the Eucharist do? It heals us, it strengthens us, it builds us into a community, right? Like we become the church, when we all participate in the body and blood of Jesus Christ. Like it is a sacrifice, but it's also a family meal. And so food does that on a natural level. It draws us together. It gets us to put down our cell phones or our computers and
Mhm.
walk away and sit down and look each other in the eye and talk to each other. Like it is always an occasion for building community and building relationship and having a chance to love each other. Like I love my family when I
Mhm.
cook for them. I love my friends when I cook for them. And they love me when they take the time to come and eat my food and eat it gratefully, eat it appreciatively. So like it's just a gift from God that helps us see what he's doing on a supernatural level, but then strengthens us as a community on a natural level.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I actually, Emily, had a group of my girlfriends over this week, and all of my son's friends were there, and I made a big great lunch for all of us, and they had such a wonderful time. We prayed with each other, we cried, we laughed, the kids played on the grass, and it was such a bonding time for us moms to have that meal together. So I completely share your sentiment, and I know you've got 3 beautiful young children at home. I follow you on social media. I see, very much the shared experience of the beautiful chaos of having little ones around the house. And I know that I can be guilty of underestimating our children's ability to understand and participate in prayer, especially around the table when they're hangry and they're ready to eat and it's been a crazy day. But I know I've been surprised and impressed by my son's abilities to pray with me. So, what are some ways that you've seen your littles respond to beauty and reverence and conversation and prayer around your table?
Gosh, well, it takes some work. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So our kids they're newly 7, newly 5, and 4. So my youngest 2 are 8 months apart. And believe me, there was a season of life with, I'm like holding a baby and eating and standing and like when you're in the season of babies and you have
Yeah.
like we adopted 3 children in 2.5 years. Um, I learned not to expect my family's meals to be at the same standard of my friends who had like lots of older kids and teenagers.
Mhm.
But we tried. Like, as soon as, I guess once our oldest was 2 and we had a newborn, we made
Uh-huh.
sure that every night we were sitting down. No screens, we don't do any screens. We
Mhm.
always do family mealtime together. We don't do it with my husband and me later and the kids earlier, even though I
Yep.
understand the temptation to do that.
Yeah.
And it was work, and there were nights it was crazy. I loved it when they were all still strapped into their,
High
high chairs.
chairs.
Now it's like, "Get
Yeah.
back in your seat." It's like a continual effort to keep them there. But over time, we can go take the kids now to a nice restaurant, and no one has
Mhm.
screens, and we can sit
Yep.
there, and we can talk, and we move through the dinner quickly. We're like, "Okay,
Yep.
let's bring that check." Like, "No, no, no, we don't need appetizers." But we can do it because of practice, and so they've learned that we tell funny stories at dinner, we talk about our day
Mhm.
at dinner. My kids pray on their own now before every meal, like, if I'm they're sitting down eating lunch. My 2 oldest are always so good about saying their prayers right before a meal. If I start to forget because it's a snack, I'm reminded by, my 7-year-old who's always policing the family right now. But it takes time and it takes practice. But over time, you see that they become capable of entering into the conversation and entering
Mhm.
into the appreciation of good food, at least some
Yeah.
of the time. So
Absolutely. There's nothing to gather a family or any group of people than some good food. So I couldn't agree more. I actually am reminded of a time I went to dinner with my 2 sons and my husband. This was just a few months ago, and there was a family sitting next to us, and they had small toddlers. And there were no screens, just like you spoke of. And they had books, little board books that they kept taking out, and they were talking to their small children as if they were adults, like really trying to engage them in conversation, even though they couldn't respond. And I kept eyeing them, and I said to my husband, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go talk to them. And he's like, Don't interrupt their meal. What are you doing? And I said, I just have to applaud the beautiful job that they're doing as parents. It is not easy going to a restaurant with small children. Just like you said, we love going out for a good meal. But I saw this family and I just had to stop them and tell them I was so impressed and so in awe of how beautifully they handled a dinner out with small children and how much they really aim to involve them in conversation.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things it's so tempting as parents, and I get it. Like, I am old, I'm tired, I have a lot of little ones. Like, it's so tempting to want to hand them a screen or just give
Mhm.
them the same food every night and not
Mhm.
introduce new foods to them because life is hard and we're all tired. But I'm not raising my children for this moment. Like, I'm raising adults, and I know that
Mhm.
everything I do, all of the hard work I do in introducing them to foods and taking them out and keeping the screens away from them
Mhm.
is an investment in who they're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road and what our family is gonna look like in 5, 10, 15 years. And so it's always like, "All right, this would be easier for me in the moment, but is it what's best for my child over the course of their life?" And it's not. And so you kinda have to do the hard work and not do it all the time, but do it enough that they
Yeah.
get practice, to
Mhm.
figure things out. And it always delights me because nobody is more sensitive to their child's noises than a parent.
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't wanna disturb anyone. I don't wanna disturb anyone." And so
Mhm.
when people come up and will say, "Oh, your kids did such a great job. It's so good to see them here." It just yeah, it's such a you're like, "Okay, thank you, Lord." Like,
Yeah.
this is good. We're making slow progress. It may not always feel like it to us, but
Mhm.
I know my kids are gonna look back on their childhood and remember so many fun meals and to have developed all of these skills to eat something appreciatively, to talk,
Yeah.
to ask questions, to tell stories, to appreciate a meal as a time to be together and not just as, like, functional, something you're racing,
Mhm.
really doing really quickly on the way between one event and another, so
I couldn't agree more. Emily, this really resonates with me because my husband and I speak of this often about how when you lay that framework, just as you spoke of, it's not even about this moment, it's what you're building for the future. And we always say when our sons are grown, we pray that they come back for dinners with their spouses and want to introduce us and let us be a part of that beautiful relationship when they meet the one and come back with their families. And I think it's just so true what you said that when we start to build that foundation, that mealtime is sacred and special and it connects us, that it is a lifetime practice for a family then.
Yeah, because so much more is communicated at meals than just nutrition. Like you're learning
Mhm.
manners, you're learning patience, you're learning to share, to give and take. You're learning the art of conversation and how to be appreciative. Like all of these really important social skills, as simple as looking people in the eye and talking
Yeah.
to them, all happen at the meal. And it's friendships are made when you're inviting other people. Everybody has to eat, so it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to invite someone in. It just provides us with so many opportunities to love and form and build relationships. It's a real gift.
Absolutely. So, Emily, a lot of Catholic families are stretched thin. Like we said, at the end of the day, us mamas are busy. We're tired too. And especially for the homeschooling families that are listening now, we're so busy during the day working with our children. So, how can we still make room for hospitality? Because I know that that's something that you write about and something that you share about often. So, what would you say to the parents who feel like their house isn't ready to have someone over, or maybe they just don't have the energy to host? High school juniors want to discover college like nowhere else? Join Christendom College for the best week ever. A unique summer program with classes, adventure, and new friends, all grounded in the Catholic faith. Apply by December 1st and save 25%. Learn more at thebestweekever.com.
I think so I'm gonna say 2 things. First, there are always seasons where we can't host.
Mhm,
You've just had a
mhm.
new baby. You're going through chemotherapy.
Right.
You're in the middle of restoring a house and it's not safe to have people over.
Mm.
Like, there are always seasons where each of us gets to say, okay, I'm not going to be the one to invite people over right now. But hospitality is not an option for the Christian, it is
Yeah.
mandatory. The Bible says, you must practice hospitality. Like, don't
Mhm.
give any money to the widow who has not practiced hospitality. Like, it is a commandment. We tend to think of hospitality as entertaining. Like we're going to put on a show and impress people and put out this
Mhm.
fancy dinner and our house must be immaculate. And that's not what the Bible's talking about. The Bible is talking about opening your home to people and loving people and giving them a place where they're listened to and loved and fed because that's like a great opportunity to do that. And so honestly, most of us, unless we're in one of those seasons where truly you are like stretched beyond stretch. Guess you have to get over yourself. You have to die to your pride and your vanity
Mhm.
and say, "This isn't about me." There are people out there who are lonely. There are people out there who need friends. I need friends. And the way to do that is you exercise humility and invite somebody into your messy, imperfect house with your imperfect cooking. Maybe you order pizza. Maybe you say, just tell people in advance, hey, we're going to have pizza, paper plates, really casual,
Yep.
and, bring some fizzy water or bottled wine, whatever you want. And then you just focus on the people. And I love to cook and I love to host and I love to set a beautiful table, but I do not have the time or the energy to do that 99% of the
Yeah.
time. Most of the time when we invite people over, and we have people over for dinner, honestly, 2 to 3 nights a week sometimes. Like, it is
Fabulous.
constant, but it's whatever we're having. It's, "Here's a bowl of soup and some bread. Here's a bowl of risotto," "Here's we're gonna grill tonight, and here's a salad and some burgers." And the more you do it, the easier
Mhm.
it becomes because you know the logistics of how it works, but the less you're like,
Yeah.
"Whatever. What if I'm gonna shut the door on my kids' bedrooms. I'm
Yep.
gonna sweep the kitchen, wipe the table down,
Yeah.
and just enjoy the people." And it is hard sometimes. Like, there are definitely evenings where I'm like, "What was I thinking? Why are we doing this?" Like, I've got so much going on. We're so busy. I'm so tired. But never once do I feel that way after the guests leave. After the guests
Mm.
leave, I'm always like, "That was so great. I'm so glad we did that. That was so fun." And that's what I kind of know to focus on in the moments when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It's such a good reminder for all of us. I'm someone who, when I have guests over, I do feel the pressure to everybody, this is your job. This is what you've got to clean. Asking my husband. And this week I hosted, like I said, my girlfriends, my homeschooling girlfriends and their families. And celebrated my mother in law's 75th birthday here. And my dining room table is a catastrophe right now. I've got all of my homeschool materials just in a heaping pile. It's a mess trying to organize for the school year in a few weeks. And typically, that would be a roadblock for me. That would be a reason to say, "Oh, I wanna reschedule," or, "I'm gonna stay up late and exhaust myself cleaning," and I just left it the way it was, and let me tell you, Emily, the meals and the conversation and the friendship and the love, it was just as great, if not better, because I was more energized, I wasn't exhausted, than if I had cleaned. So this is a great reminder to all of us moms.
And then people feel more free to invite you over too.
They
Like if you put
do.
on this huge show and made it look like your house is perfect and you've set
Yep.
this amazing table and everything is always gorgeous in our house and we have time to clean the baseboards, moms feel like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, I have to do that for her. And if I don't, she's going to judge me
Yep.
and I'm not going to invite her over.
Yep.
Friendship is built by two people being real with each other. Like when
Mm.
I am my honest self with you and you are your
Yep.
honest self with me, that's where we can become friends. That's where community
Yeah.
can grow. And when we see each other's needs, like, oh gosh, she really could use some help with,
Yep.
her toddler one afternoon a week so she can do this other thing. Like maybe I could let do that for her. So
Mm.
if we are not real and vulnerable, right down to not necessarily cleaning our baseboards before people come over, we're never going to have real friendships and we're never going
Mm.
to have real community. In order to have community, you have to have humility. And that means letting people see you and your house and all of its imperfections and being okay with that because, nobody really cares about your house's imperfections. They just want to be loved. They want to be seen. They want to be listened to. They want to have someone to talk to. Like, yeah. So, when we first had all of our little ones, and I've had these 3 children under 3, we're a 1-car family.
Mhm.
I'm working from home during nap time. So there's like not even walking out to the park with the hopes of meeting other moms. We didn't have other moms in our
Mhm.
neighborhood. Like the only way I got to speak to other adult women was to invite them
Mhm.
into my home and serve their family dinner and serve them dinner.
Mhm.
And I had the sort of ability to do that because I've been hosting for so long and I'm so comfortable with that. But there's
Mhm.
other new moms who haven't learned how to do that yet. And
Yep.
so those of us who can do it really have the extra burden of welcoming people into our homes because if I had not had the ability to start inviting people into my home, if I had been too scared, too intimidated, I would have, gosh, the loneliness would have crushed me because it's so, so tough when you just have all littles in that regard. There's other
Mhm.
things get harder as they get older, but the loneliness of new motherhood is crushing.
I agree. I agree. It absolutely can be. It can be overwhelming. You're sleep deprived and giving your all serving your family in that season of life. And I think this is a great lesson to moms who are listening to invite those mamas over and create that connection that you're so desperately seeking in that time of life. And so, Emily, do you have any tips? I know you just mentioned, for the mom who's not really used to hosting, what would be your number one tip for the mom who's listening, going, oh, I want this so badly. This sounds amazing. How do I just do it? What should I do if I really want to invite someone over and I don't know where to start?
The first thing you do is when you issue the invitation, you have to be specific. So you'll hear
Mm.
people say all the time, like, oh, I ask people to come over, but nobody ever takes me up on it. And usually
Mhm.
they're either saying, hey, I would love to have you come over sometime. They don't like give a
Mhm.
specific, or it's really specific, like, can you come over this Friday? What I've found is helpful is to pick a few days a week that always work for my husband and me and say, hey, we'd love to have you for dinner sometime in the next few weeks. What do
Mhm.
your Tuesdays and Thursdays over the next month or 2 look like? And then you can always find, everyone can usually almost always find a Tuesday or Thursday over the next 2 months. So that kind of
Mhm.
narrows it down, but gives you some flex room.
I love that
Then
idea.
then you keep it really simple. Okay, don't try to cook some fancy recipe you have never
Mhm.
cooked before. Make a pot of soup, order pizza, grill burgers and make a salad. Like so simple, something you could do in your sleep. Don't try to do something super impressive. And then, so in my, I have a cookbook coming out on September 3rd called Around the
Okay.
Catholic Table, and it's got 100 easy recipes in it that you can use for hosting. But it also has really practical essays and advice on
Mhm.
how to clean your house. Like, what do you have to do? Like, most of my stuff is I'm like, shut the bedroom doors. If somebody opens it, if some kids opens it, oh well, like they're gonna see a mess. I always clean the bathroom that I know guests are going to use because I have
Mhm.
young boys and you are a mom of young boys. You know what young
Yep.
boys can do to a
Enough
restaurant.
said. That's right.
Clean the bathroom, like, clean the bathroom, and then, like, make sure there's a place guests can sit. If I have really little babies coming over, we make sure all the Legos are contained
Yep.
in the playroom, watching out for choking hazards. Beyond that,
Mhm.
there's not a lot you have to do. No
Yeah.
one's gonna check your baseboards. I don't vacuum. I
Mhm.
don't. dust. I'm not doing those things before people come over. I sweep the kitchen floor and make sure there's a place for us to sit down and eat. I don't even usually set the table before guests come over. It's like, all right, let's pull everything out. And this it's
Yeah,
summer right now, so we're eating out on our we have like a front terrace area that we eat out on. So we eat out
great.
with guests and everyone carries the plates out when they're there. Or if we're in the kitchen, with a lot of times with good friends, there's so many kids, there'll be so many kids, and
Mhm.
it's the kids we get to sit down and eat, and the adults will stand around and talk or be in a different room, and it's very peaceful. So but it's just casual, like, treat it like family. You
Yes.
don't have to set a fancy table, you don't have to clean everything, you don't have to make impressive food. You just have to listen to people and talk to them and give them something to eat and make sure there's, plenty of wine or fizzy water or whatever it is your friends like to drink, and you'll have a great time.
I think that's great, Emily. And I think when you host in that way, when you, as the hostess, kind of bring that energy to your guests that, "Hey, listen, we're gonna be relaxed. Here's your paper plate. Let's go out back
Yeah.
together." It also sets the stage for that really important conversation that you look to have, that connection, right? Because when your guests are relaxed and they don't feel like the meal or the table setting or the tablescape is so fussy, they're at ease to really let conversation flow too. So I really wanna know, have you ever experienced a meal that became something more? Maybe it was a spiritual turning point. Maybe it was a moment of grace, maybe even a conversion. Has anything like this ever happened at your table?
I mean, there's always wonderful conversations. There's always, back when I was single for a long
Mhm.
time that I'd wanted to be single for, but made the most of those years. And I used to have weekly dinner parties every Thursday night. I would invite, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 families. There was like 15 families that had a standing invitation to come eat at my house.
It's so
And
beautiful.
it was great. There were nights we
Wow.
had, like, 50 kids, and I did not have a big house, it was, like, 1,800 square feet if you counted the basement. Um,
Mhm.
but people showed up, different groups every week. Everyone always brought something, they would bring
Mhm.
wine or a salad or a dessert that kind of got shifted around each week. But over the course of all those years, the friendships that grew, like you know, people became godparents. When parents died, we would
Mm,
drive to funerals. Not every person who came, because I was always inviting people in, became my best friend, but lots of
mhm.
people became best friends with each other.
Mm,
People did come into the church. We had people who were in the process of thinking about becoming Catholic, um, or people would bring their friends and family who were visiting, who weren't Catholic at all, who weren't Christian at all, and they would encounter this really joyful, deep community and say, "Wow, this is beautiful." And I don't know what's come of that in their lives, but I know that every encounter with authentic Christian community is an encounter with Christ, and it's an encounter with grace, and it's up to God to how he uses those things. Well, this Sunday, I'm gonna be a sponsor for one of my friends who's
oh,
coming into the church, and she was a new mom in the neighborhood, and I invited her to come to dinner at our house, and we clicked and became great friends, and so now I'm gonna be sponsoring her when she comes into the church, but, like, it's the not putting on a show, it's the not being fussy, it's keeping it simple that gives me the freedom to do it that often, and that
mhm,
frequency is really, I think, where the grace comes in, like, so you're always extending an invitation, you're always bringing
mhm.
over, but if I was killing myself every time to cook some super fancy meal or put
Yeah.
on set a gorgeous table, I wouldn't do that. I don't have the time or the energy to do that. I have 3 little kids, I'm a
Yep.
writer. So, yeah, I think just our job is to be gracious and to open our door and to love
Mhm.
people and serve people, and then God will do what he wants to do, and he always does something beautiful with our yes.
Always,
Even if we don't
always.
know what that is, he always does something beautiful with it. I don't think we have to worry about that when we're
Yeah.
planning the evening. We just worry about our part. Is there food enough for people? Do they have some place to sit? Plenty of wine, like, have I taken care of the basics? Is the he wiped off at the toilet, and if we've
Yep.
done that, God will do the rest. So
I think that is so beautiful and so true. Always a blessing. It is always a blessing. So, Emily, I know that we've spoken a whole bunch about us busy moms, working moms, and moms with littles or big families, and how hard it is to do all that fun stuff, which is making the new meal, maybe the more extravagant meal, setting the table in a way that's really beautiful. But I know that you're an expert in this too. And I love to celebrate everything. I love to celebrate a season. I love to celebrate a holiday, you name it. So, knowing that you're an expert with this too, I want to know a little bit about if you've got the time, the energy, and something spectacular to celebrate. Give us some tips, tricks, or special memories of a holiday that you celebrated with something extra special.
So I used to celebrate Thanksgiving with my friends every year, and I would do a
Mhm.
great big Thanksgiving dinner. I'm no longer able to do that because we need to get back to help take care of my mom is ailing, so we're always
Mhm.
back there now for Thanksgiving. But we would have days of feasting, so we would guests would start arriving. They would come from out of town even, and the house would fill up, and I would have
Mm.
meals for them, and the days we're preparing for the feast. And we would set the most beautiful table. We would go foraging in the neighborhood to find, berries and golden leaves and things that we could put on the
Mhm.
table. One year we never had any money, so you don't have to have money
Yeah.
to make things beautiful. All my china is, like, vintage china that I've gotten in thrift shop and
The
mismatched that,
best.
then we will set a table with that. We got chestnuts, and my friend who's an artist, put everyone's name on different chestnuts, and those were our place settings. And I still have all of those. I have a great big bowl of, like, pine cones and chestnuts,
Mhm.
and so all the years later, I still see all those names because we would use those year after year.
That's so beautiful.
And the table was beautiful. Like, I love making things beautiful, and it was big. We've had years where there were 30, 40, 50 people. We'd take over, we'd switch the living room and the dining room so it could be in there. Um, but, like, what I remember is just the joy of doing it together with friends, and that's the thing,
Mm.
you can share the responsibility, you don't have to do it all yourself. Like, if you're hosting a holiday, inviting people into that and saying, "I'd love some help with setting a beautiful table," if you have a friend who's great at
Yep.
that. Like, I'm not the best floral arranger in the world, but I have friends who are really talented at it, and so I will say, "I would love your help with it," and then they love being able to use their gifts in that way.
Ew.
And, so yeah, I just always like, it should always be ordered towards community. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
don't kill yourself trying to do it all. See it as
Mm.
an occasion to build community, even in the preparation of doing something really beautiful.
I think that's amazing. Emily, you mentioned your mom. I'm gonna keep her in my prayers. I just had to mention that.
Thank you.
But, I also host Thanksgiving, and I love hosting Thanksgiving. I very similar to you, I collect things. I baked and put cinnamon on some pine cones as a little, tablescape one year, and I love hosting Thanksgiving. I, like you, will ask people to bring things, and usually it's dessert that I ask for and request if they are so inclined to bring it. And I usually, in the past few years have said, bring a pie. It can be store bought, it can be homemade, it can be semi homemade, and everybody brings a pie. And at the end, there's enough dessert for all of us, plus surplus, more than we'd need. But we do a pie competition, and I
Oh,
get like
that's
a
so
five.
fun.
I get like a $5 little surprise gift for whoever is the winner of the pie competition. But it just creates, like you said, that community because there's laughter. There is a reason to interact. Even if you were at the other end of the table from someone, now there's a reason for you to find a moment of connection and laugh and talk about the pie. So I very much agree with you that it's just about allowing the blessings to come, the conversation to flow, the connection to be there between you and your guests.
And if you are someone who loves to make a fuss, like I collect antique silver. I have
Mhm.
so much antique silver that's all been gotten. I've purchased it from junk stores and thrift stores, and I love at Christmas time and thanks, polishing it up and putting it out, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful because people are worthy of being loved in that way, and it is a wonderful thing when you can lavish like that kind of attention on people.
Mhm.
But you don't also that's what but I'm always so hesitant to talk about it too much because some people are like, "Oh my gosh, if I had to polish silver, I would die or have anyone
Yeah.
over to my house." So those things
Mhm.
are fun, and if you have a gift for it and a knack for it, like, go for it. But not every person in every season requires the special things. But a pie contest, anybody can do that. Like, anyone in
Yes.
any season, any budget can say, "Bring a pie. Bring a $7 pie from the grocery store,
That's
make
right.
yourself," and, like, that's that's accessible to everybody, which is what I love, and it's such a great idea.
Emily, I usually end my conversations with my guests with a rapid fire homeschool hot seat. So I'm just going to ask you some quick questions, and all you have to do is respond with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, we'll see how I do.
Awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite meal to cook or to eat, maybe even from your new cookbook around the Catholic table?
Any risotto. Risotto always.
One of my favorites too. What is your kids' favorite meal right now?
Uh, Jelly sandwiches.
Jelly, peanut butter and jelly? What kind of
No,
jelly?
just
What do they
jelly
like?
sandwiches.
Just jelly. Well, it sounds good to me. I love a good
Yeah.
raspberry
I just
jelly.
gave them jelly sandwiches all day long. They'd be thrilled
I
with fizzy water, jelly sandwiches with fizzy water.
I love that. What is on your table right now? What's in your fridge right now? Or what are you gonna be making this weekend?
We have a lot of leftovers because we've had house guests all week, so I've got a really delicious, quinoa salad with green goddess dressing on it. It's like with
Mm,
basil and parmesan, and it's just so delicious. We also have a leftover roasted mushroom risotto from a big dinner party we had on Thursday night, so we'll be having that. So today is leftover day at the Chapmans.
it sounds exquisite. It
So
sounds fantastic. All right, and my last one. What is your top tip for cooking for your family when you are short on time? Imagine the mom that gets in to the house and kids are hungry, they're ready to eat. What would you do if you're really short on time?
I love Aldi's fancy ravioli and tortellinis. Like, you can boil those up so fast, make a quick, delicious sauce with like cream or butter, just even olive oil. My kids love olive oil and shredded parmesan and tortellini. And roast a vegetable really
Yep.
quickly or throw together a salad, and you've got a delicious, child-friendly, super fast dinner on the table in 20 minutes.
I love it. Emily, thank you. Before we wrap up the conversation today, I just want to give you the opportunity. We've had such a fruitful conversation, but speaking to the heart of the Catholic mom who's listening, is there anything left that you'd like to share that we haven't covered that you, if you're speaking to that mama's heart, what would you like to say to her?
A lot of people think about hosting as a way of even no, they think about hospitality as a way of serving others, which it is.
Mhm.
You're loving people who are lonely. You're inviting them into a space where they can be listened to. You are feeding their family for a night, which is often a great, work of mercy. But no one's been more blessed by the hosting I've done than I have. Like, I've been blessed by every person who's come in the house. I've met some of my best friends this way. I've learned so much about
Mhm.
parenthood. I've learned so much about Christ. Um, and so when we don't host, like when we let our pride get in the way or our
Mhm.
fears or our insecurities, um, we are failing to serve others, but we're failing to serve ourselves. Like, we're cheating ourselves of so many graces and so many blessings that come
Mhm.
our way when we open ourselves and our lives and our homes to others. So
What a beautiful message. Emily, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And for more information about Emily and her new cookbook, Around the Catholic Table, be sure to check out the notes below. I'm going to have all that information. It's on pre order now, and I cannot wait to get a copy myself. To all of my homeschool mamas, I pray that this conversation was a blessing to you. Emily, thanks again for spending some time with me today.
oh, thanks for taking the time to do this.
This isn't the end of the conversation. I want to hear from you. Come say hi on Instagram, connect with me on Facebook, or leave a comment below. I want to know what today's conversation sparked in you. I read and respond to every message. Until next time, remember, you got this.